So the issue with how this topic gets addressed, to my knowledge, is the striving that's involved a lot of the time. And a lot of speakers come from a point of striving. So even though we might think we've sort of given up the goals of, worldly success and all this, and we're not so interested in careers and money and property and all this. But this, all that's really happened in many cases, in most cases probably, is that the same striving has just been sublimated. It's just been altered. It's now in the striving of enlightenment and self-development and, reaching inner peace and all these things. So, if there's a real sort of, if the bottom really drops out and the claiming doesn't come back, then that's one thing. But to not see through that, to not sort of address or sense or see the subtle pride system that keeps this in place, this self-defense, like no, I don't strive anymore, I don't this, I don't that, oh, there's no more striving here. That's just illusion. It's just self-delusion. It's just fooling oneself, and then very often fooling others, and getting some kind of power trip out of it. So needless to say that has nothing to do with the subject, which what at the heart of what we're talking about is love. Yeah. Or if you want to be more neutral about it, it's energy. But if we can see that all there is really is energy, we can't define anything as an absolute. So words are useful because they're placeholders. Like this way we can communicate, we can have literature, we can express things in words, but they're useful as placeholders. It's the same like a name. It's useful because then I can address someone by their name. But the words, firstly, of course, the words are never the thing, but they can also, they can't ultimately even point to the thing or describe something. That really has to do with the receptivity that there is. Yeah, with the openness. If someone's psyche, let's say, has been sufficiently worn down with adversity, that's what it requires in most cases. Because the claiming all around is so strong in our culture, in most of the cultures in the world, being reduced to enough openness usually comes through adversity. So once there is even just a little bit of receptivity, then the light starts pouring in. Yeah, and if it's not claimed, because what can easily happen then is that claiming the insight, claiming the help that's come, or the strength that's come, healing from illness that's come, we associate it with our own efforts, or it would be like claiming the receptivity then. Oh, I'm so receptive, or I'm so open, or I'm so open-minded. There are so many cases of that, right? We all know this from all kinds of self-images. Like if there's a self-image that someone carries around of being a rebel, or being left-wing or right-wing, then by definition that has to be working within a system, and the system is one of opposites. So the left wing needs the right wing to even make sense. Like otherwise left wing doesn't make any sense if it's not in contrast to the right wing. right? So any images that we have, like if we think we're a rebel, or if we think we are enlightened, or if we think we are on a spiritual quest, then we're still inside that system of opposites. So then we see ourselves in contrast to others who are not conscious and who are not aware and who are not awake and all this stuff. All that does is fuel arrogance and pride, because this system of contrasts, of opposites, is fueled by an artificial division that humans have said is present in nature, but which isn't. So the division into good and evil. Yeah, that's the fundamental to most religions in the world, and it influences our view even if we don't know that it does. So this fundamental split in the worldview of humans is the thing that isn't actually true. Hence the term non-duality, that things are not split into irreconcilable, inimical forces. And it really, it does take a little bit of a pause to notice that, because the rushing along in life is such that these things don't really get questioned. So we'll walk around our daily lives and not even know that we're kind of informed, and our actions are informed by this worldview of seeing things in terms of opposites. And then we have like a chasm, like a gorge, or like something that we can't bridge, some deep descent off a cliff, and then the other side there's like the greener pastures that are on the other side on the next cliff, but we can't get across that divide. And what we do is we spend our lives trying to build a bridge to get over to the other side. And that takes a huge amount of effort. All it does is fuels the same attitude, and therefore causes more misery and cruelty in the world. This view of the division into opposites, which at the base of which is the division into good and evil, is obviously the cause for all cruelty that we do see. And then if you start talking in terms of, oh well, the cruelty, that's what it is, and it's all part of it, then you're just being callous. So yeah. But on the other hand, it's also like to even the natural sense of that we don't want to see cruelty in the world, or we don't like when something cruel happens to us, or we don't like seeing it happen to others, even that can get claimed. And a new self-image will be set up of, I'm so caring, I care about the problems in the world and all this. And we think that makes us more spiritual, but really it makes us be more of an idiot. There's no two ways about that, really. So what we really would like is rest. And the seeing the futility of this striving towards some kind of lofty goal, whether it's career or spirituality, or money or anything else, is seeing that that's what's taking the energy that kind of seems to impair our natural rest that we have anyway. Like we do our daily activities and we get tired and we sleep. There would be like a very balanced, very neutral and content, biologically a very content sort of way of living if we don't buy into this mentality of striving. So that's something, it's something ingrained in the psyche. It's not something, that's the whole point, that we can't make ourselves not strive. It's what we would be doing is adding more layers to that striving. So now we're going to be the one who does a lot of meditation, a lot of yoga, and I'm calming myself down, and I'm not believing in the values of money anymore and career and all that. But all I'm doing is fueling the view of myself as a good person in that sense. I'm good at that. I'm good at the striving towards rest. But for that whole striving mentality to really lose its energy, first of all, we're kind of thrown into the world, and then we kind of run with how the world is going. And that is the way humans have organized themselves, that is with a lot of striving. The things that humans have told themselves about how the world works and how nature is and what nature is at its core fuels and it engenders a lot of striving. So we're kind of thrown into that world, and what it only takes is a step back to see that things are already intact before that. By logic, the only reason I would need to strive if there's not enough of something, right? If I have to make effort, it means I have to improve something. It means it's saying that I have to make something better, get more of something. And the whole point of this doing, which is effort, you could say, is that the way nature functions, it's not necessary. The day-to-day things, cooking a meal or getting on the bus or whatever, those are the only doings that are necessary in life. But it has to somehow, at some point, it has to twig in our conscience that if I'm so engaged in doing and presenting a version of myself or some image of myself as look at all these things I do, I'm so disciplined, I'm so thorough with my practice and all that, then I'm just really, it has to twig at some point that all I'm doing is talking about myself and giving more attention to myself. So what am I really doing? I'm just promoting myself. So why do we have so many issues in our life? It's because we have so many definitions of what and who we are. It's like we're trying to hold ourselves above water the whole time. Like this constant need to strive to prove ourselves is not natural, so it doesn't have any energy of its own. So it has to elicit constant action. So once we run out of, like, the enthusiasm runs out for one self-image, then we'll adopt a new one. And what we're doing is layering up these levels of issues that we create for ourselves. Because what we're really doing ultimately is we're just suffocating what's really there until it gets extinguished. That would be like real inner deadness and living a life that's really lived as a sacrifice to the greater collective view. Yeah. So all we've done ultimately is given our energy to promote the worldview that causes the issues that we're trying to get rid of in the first place. So just multiplying them ultimately. So these layers that we uh, build up for ourselves, this collection of self-images, like we put on one layer after another. One will burn out, then we find a new one. They're things that we try to live up to all the time. So we literally will spend our energy of the day, like the body recuperates during sleep, and then we wake up, and then literally our energy will go towards the upkeep of whatever self-image or collection of self-images is most important or most prominent for us at the moment. So the energy goes towards that. That's why we feel stressed. That's why we feel burnt out and all these things. It's because we're giving energy to things that aren't natural. If we just go about our daily business and this stuff isn't going on in our psyche, then there wouldn't be those senses of burnout, the sense of discontent, all that. So it's literally something that's sucking our energy that we are devoted to, but there's no way of saying that this is something poor me, I was born into this and the system is so bad and so evil and all that. No, we give our energy to these things every day. Like even if we don't see it, make no mistake, we are the ones who give our energy to it. So we try to live up to the image that we've now cultivated about ourselves, or that we're trying to cultivate all our life about ourselves, but really we die to it, because we burn out and exhaust all our energy to it. So there's got to be some curiosity about what would a life lived without these self-images and all this preoccupation about myself and how I fit into the world and how the world sees me and all this. How there has to be some kind of curiosity about what that would look like to live life as it's meant to be lived naturally. What we do obviously is throw up a lot of excuses. Yeah, but I've got this to do, I've got kids to take care of, I've got a job to go to, there are wars going on, and so it's not possible to live naturally, and so much concrete and all this stuff. To find some kind of excuse to not really look in the eye the fact that we are the ones giving the energy, because we to this fake image we have about ourselves, because we like it so much, because we think it's what gives us energy, it's what gives us attention, it's what gives us meaning, purpose, all these things. Even if we don't like it, even if it's a whole story of self-loathing, it still has some satisfaction to it, because the self-pity can be as addictive as a positive self-image of being some kind of a hero. But we got to see through that stuff, because it's like, why would you not want to have some radical honesty instead of some radical harping on about spiritual facts or non-duality facts or something like that? Like, what's the in this discussion? There is not much point in keep trying to put words onto what the cosmos or the whole or the emptiness or all this, what they're really like and all this stuff, because words aren't sufficient for it anyway. And but words are good to describe the things that keep us seemingly separate from this, what we think we are not there yet, or connected to yet full time, or anything like that. Yeah.